You've probably heard 1,000 times that you must have an emergency fund, and that if you don't have 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in cash, you're basically a financial disaster waiting to happen. That advice is well-meaning, but it's also way too generic. Not everybody needs the exact same size emergency fund. Not everybody needs it right now. And in some cases, holding too much cash actually slows down your wealth building. So the real question isn't, do you need an emergency fund? The real question is, how fragile is your life right now? How replaceable is your income? And what's the cheapest way to protect yourself? That's what we're going to figure out. We'll break it into 4 parts. Who absolutely needs a big emergency fund, who can get away with a smaller one, who can use hybrid protection instead of all cash, and how to build it without feeling like you're never allowed to invest. And we'll keep it simple and friendly so you can drop this straight into your channel. Let's start with the basic idea. An emergency fund is not for vacations, not for new phones, not for holidays. It is borrowing money whose only job is to stop one bad month from turning into debt that follows you for years. That's it. That's the whole point. Emergency funds are shock absorbers. If the car hits a bump and you don't have shocks, the whole thing breaks. If your life hits a bump and you don't have cash, you borrow, and debt shows up. Debt is what we're actually trying to avoid. We are not trying to win an award for biggest savings account. We are trying to avoid making a bad situation worse. So who absolutely needs a real old-school 3 to 6 month emergency fund? It's people with unstable income, people with dependents, people with medical or visa risk, and people with high fixed expenses that cannot be turned off. If you are self-employed and your income can go from $5,000 one month to $1,000 the next, you need more cash. If you are a single parent and you are the only adult earning in that household, you need more cash. If you work on contract, commission, seasonal work or tips, you need more cash. If you are new in a country and a job loss could also mean a visa problem, you need more cash. If your rent or mortgage is 40 to 50% of your take-home pay and you cannot just move out tomorrow, you need more cash. Those are the people the classic advice was written for. For them, 3 to 6 months of expenses is not excessive. It's survival. But that's not everybody. Plenty of people have stable W-2 style jobs, 2-income households, or parents they could lean on for 1 month, or a line of credit they could use for 10 days. For those people, parking $15,000 or $20,000 in a savings account, earning pretty much nothing, can be overkill, especially if they also have 18% credit card debt staring at them. That's where we have to be more nuanced. Because what most people hear is, I can't invest until I have 6 months saved, so they never start investing. That's backward. The order should be, get to a very small emergency buffer, kill high-interest debt, start investing something, then grow the buffer over time. Let's define the small emergency buffer. I like to call it the 1 bad week plus 1 bad month fund. That's usually somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on where you live. That amount covers a flat tire, a broken phone, a flight for a funeral, or a gap between paychecks. That amount doesn't take forever to save. You can get to $1,000 in a couple of months of cutting subscriptions, pausing eating out, and picking up over time. Once you hit that, you have basic protection. And because you have basic protection, you can start investing right away. You don't need to wait until you have $20,000 saved. Now, let's talk about risk level. You can think of your life on a scale from 1 to 5. Level 1 is extremely stable. 2 incomes, both secure jobs, low rent, no kids, no debt. Level 5 is the opposite. 1 income, volatile, high rent, kids, medical costs, maybe family overseas, maybe debt. Level 1 people can run with a 1 to 2 month emergency fund and be fine. Level 5 people should probably be closer to 6 months and maybe more. Most people are in the middle, level 3. 1 main income, 1 smaller income, some kids, some debt. Those people do really well with 2 to 3 months of expenses. Not 0. Not 12. 2 to 3. There's another piece that almost no one mentions. You do not have to keep your entire emergency fund in pure cash forever. You can build what I call a layered emergency fund. Layer 1 is cash in a checking or savings account you can touch today. That's for true emergencies. Layer 2 is a high-yield savings or money market, where it takes a day or two to get the money. That's for bigger stuff, like car repairs or a surprise dental bill. Layer 3 is a line of credit or available room on a card you never use, or even a taxable brokerage account that you don't touch unless something major happens. Cash first, then slower cash, then backups. That way you're not keeping every last dollar in the lowest yield place forever. A lot of Chinese and immigrant households do this instinctively, a bit of cash at home, a bit of cash in the bank, and assets. Not all in one bucket. Let's also separate emergencies from predictables. New tires every 4 years is not an emergency. Property tax is not an emergency. Christmas is not an emergency. Your kids' back-to-school stuff is not an emergency. Those are predictable. They should be sinking funds. That's a different video, but if you keep calling everything an emergency, you will think you need 12 months in cash. You don't. You need an emergency fund for unknown timing events: job loss, health problem, family crisis, car breakdown. If you strip out the predictable stuff, your emergency fund target drops. Okay, big question. What if I have debt? Should I still build an emergency fund? Yes, but small. Debt and emergencies are friends. If you have no cash, every emergency becomes more debt. So, even if you owe on credit cards, build 1,000 to 2,000 in cash first. Then attack the debt hard. Then, once the bad debt is gone, grow the emergency fund to 2 or 3 months. The only exception is if your debt is truly suffocating, like 28% store cards or collections. Then maybe you do 500 as a micro buffer and dump everything else into debt until it calms down. Now, the other side of the argument: when is an emergency fund too big? It's too big when it starts to slow your future. If you make 4,000 a month and you have 25,000 just sitting there for years and you're not maxing any retirement accounts, that's too big. You are being safe in the wrong direction. Because cash loses value to inflation. And because the opportunity cost of not investing at all is huge over a decade. You don't need to get rid of the emergency fund, you need to cap it. Once you hit, say, 3 months of expenses, tell yourself, okay, any extra cash over this is going to investing. That's the part people skip. They keep hoarding because it makes them feel safe. Your feelings are valid, but math also matters. Safety is good, but safety plus growth is better. Let's do some quick scenarios so you can hear your situation in one of them. Scenario 1. 25 years old, single, renting with roommates, stable job, no kids. You do not need 6 months in cash. You can do 1 month as a buffer, invest the rest. And if something happens, you can move, get another roommate, or pick up another job. Scenario 2. 33 years old, married, 1 kid, 1 person works, 1 person stays home, mortgage, car payment. You absolutely need 3 months, and your real target is 4 to 6. Scenario 3. 40 years old, 2 incomes, both government or very stable, house almost paid off, no kids or older kids. You can run lean, 1 to 2 months, and keep the rest invested. Scenario 4. Self-employed contractor, income up and down, supporting parents, renting. You need cash. 4 to 6 months is not crazy for you. Let's hit job loss specifically, because that's the big fear. If you could get another job in 4 to 6 weeks, you don't need 6 months in cash. If you work in a field where hiring takes 3 to 6 months, or you live in a place where jobs are scarce, or you're in a niche role, then yeah, have more. Your emergency fund length should match your job replacement time, not a random internet number. Now, how do you build it without feeling like you'll never invest? Simple structure. First, set a micro goal, $1,000. Second, set a timeline. I will get to 1,000 in 60 days. Third, automate. Automatically move $125 a week or $250 every payday. Fourth, as soon as you hit 1,000, start investing $100 a month, even if the emergency fund isn't done. Fifth, keep building the fund slowly until you hit your month goal. That way you are doing both, protecting today and building tomorrow. People who say, I'll invest after I have 6 months, almost never invest. People who do both win. Let's also be honest. Some people want a bigger emergency fund not because of risk, but because of anxiety. That's okay. Money is emotional. If you sleep better with 2 months instead of 1, do 2. If you grew up poor and chaos was normal, you might need more cash to feel safe. That's fine. Just name it. Say, this is not math optimal, this is emotion optimal. Once you name it, you can decide how far you want to go. So, do you actually need an emergency fund? Yes. Every functioning adult needs some amount of cash that is not invested and not already spoken for. But it does not have to be 6 months on day 1. It does not have to stop you from investing. It does not have to be the same size as your friends. It has to match your risk. High risk life, big fund. Medium risk life, medium fund. Low risk life, small fund. And once you hit your number, stop hoarding and start growing. That's the compound state version. Protect the downside just enough, then get back to building wealth.